Let's go to our second team, though, because you've got another best bet. This one's tricky because the number that you got is no longer available. The Houston Rockets at 27.5 were their opening number, and Brandon jumped on it and bet the under. I wasn't ready to figure out where I was at on these teams yet, and so I waited, and now the number is back down to 25.5. There's 23.5s in the market. As always, shop around with all of these. Like the Pels are another one. There's a 45.5 in the market where the over is minus 140. Don't bet that. Under no circuit. Like I found a 44.5 minus 110 last week. So if that's not there, I do not like it. Like I don't, it's not that it's that narrow. It's just that I don't want to start getting up in the 45, 46s, especially if you're laying juice. So shop around and wait. But the Rockets though, 25.5. So you got the 27.5 and bet the under. Yeah. I don't feel like we need to spend a lot of time explaining why we want to bet the under here. The team's horrible. It was horrible last year. They got a player that needs good guard play. They don't have good guard play. I don't feel like there's a lot of reasons we need to explain this. My question for you, though, is it was 27.5, and I haven't seen that number come back. If it does, by all means, I'm with you. I'll be on it as well. But what is the grade that you give the various numbers that you see out there, like 25.5, 23.5? Where do you come in on they're still having value?
Yeah, so that's the key with this one. And my answer is different than I expected. I'm still in. I am in on the under 25.5, and I would play to 23.5, which means if that's your only book you've got, and that's the lowest number on the market right now, I would still play because my win range for Houston is 16 to 23. So my entire range of outcomes is still below even the lower line. Of course, you'd rather have the 25.5 or the 27.5. But to me, this is clearly the worst team in the NBA right now. And I don't think that there's any real reason to believe that they wouldn't tank at the end of the season. I know we want to establish winning culture and all of that, but this is a team in particular that has traded away a whole bunch of their upcoming draft picks. This is the last year for a while that they really fully own the rights to their draft pick. They need this one still. They need another piece to the core, especially if they're a 20-win team. They only won 20 games last year despite a 7-game win streak. They had a random 7-game win streak and still only got to 20. Their expected wins pace the last two seasons, 21 and 23. I hate the defense. I know you like the defense a little more than I do. I can see it in time. I like Jabari Smith, but basically Jabari and Şengün are the centers. There's no center on this team. There's nobody to protect the rim. It's those guys. And my whole matrix basically on how am I betting teams is I value defense a lot for win totals because good defense gives you a high floor, bad defense, really bad. I think this defense could be the worst defense in the league or close to it. And I also love to bet against teams whose offense is giving the ball to young guards a lot. And Jalen Green, going to be a good player in time, going to have some flashes this year. But with him and KPJ running the show, I expect the offense to be bad, not horrendous, but bad. I expect the defense to be perhaps closer to horrendous. I truly, when I was preparing, thinking, okay, what's the over, what's the under? I truly have a hard time finding what the over is, other than they got another one of those 7-game win streaks. So I like the under. I like it at 25.5 a lot still. I would still play it at 23.5.
23.5 at DraftKings, you can get actually plus money on it. So if you want to put another bet down, that's absolutely in play. I need to be very clear about, I like the defense more than you. Does not mean that I think this is a top 20 defense. They're going to be bad. What I basically found when I did the deep dive on them, and I watched a ton of Rockets clips, because they're one of those teams that I stopped paying attention to because I was like, they're tanking, they're terrible, I'm out. So I need to catch up on them. This is the time that I do that, right? It's like you take the time and you do it now. What I gotta say is basically, I was expecting, it made my eyes bleed. Like they're so bad. they like watching them is painful, like genuinely painful. At the same time, they're not so bad that it was like they were actually, I'll put it this way, they were better on defense on clip than they were on offense.
Ooh.
They are undisciplined. There's so many. This is the biggest thing. If you want here's my case for the under. There's a lot of possessions where they just don't know what to do. Like they have no structure. And there's been a lot of talk about installing a lot more structure this offseason. The plan is basically because neither KPJ nor Jalen Green are great facilitators, they can't run the offense right now. They want to run it through Alperen Şengün, and Rockets fans are big on Alperen Şengün, and Şengün's been great in Eurobasket. I personally do not think he's ready. I watch his clips and I go, this is a guy trying to make Jokic and Domantas Sabonis level plays
Exactly.
and is not ready to do it. Like the idea is there, but he's like 2 seconds behind the defense versus 2 seconds ahead of it. So his turnover rate is horrific. What's crazy is defensively, he gets bullied, as you would imagine, by his direct matchups, but you don't worry about that much because there's just not many post players in the league. When he switches, the numbers are shockingly good. And I was like, this can't be right. So I went through and I watched the clips. I watched every switch possession. Brandon, he's a legitimately good switch defender. He just is. Jae'Sean Tate, legitimately good. I don't know if they're going to run that. I don't know if they're going to play drop still because that's easier on the guards. If they do that, I hate that because he'll get destroyed then. He's terrible in drop because if he doesn't have the muscle, if the guy gets a head of steam, he gets knocked into the basket. Jae'Sean Tate, I think, is really good. KPJ was 99th percentile last year as a spot-up shooter. If you just tell KPJ not to handle the ball, good things actually happen.
But good luck with that.
Faith in that actually, yeah. There's the 25.5 right now is at PointsBet, and the under is minus 180. Now there's a DraftKings 23.5 that's plus money under. So if you want it, make sure again to shop around. I don't want to play it over. This moved from I want to bet the under. When I watched it, I was like, they can win 26 games. Like that would not surprise me. 26 games, the third spot in the lottery, fourth spot in the lottery. Silas, here's a big thing is Silas, I think, is coaching for his job. So I don't know, like,
yeah.
Here, if you think Tillman Fertitta is going to pay somebody not to coach and fire him early, fire on the under. I don't.
Yeah, but Silas was in my notes as well. The man hasn't really had a fair shake with this team.
No,
to be totally fair. But it's hard to argue, I think, that he has to be a bottom 5 coach in the league right now, based on what we've seen.
Yeah.
He's near the bottom. So even that's another spot where like I'd be careful where we'll get to the Spurs, but it's Pop. I'm worried. There's a floor raising element to a great coach. I don't think I have to factor it in with Steven Silas. 9 of the 12 guys I expect in the Rockets rotation are 22 or younger this season. That is a college basketball team playing NBA ball. And on top of it, the 2 most important guys on the team, Jalen Green, his archetype is a type that takes usually like 4, 5, 6 years to really hit stride and be a winning player in the NBA. Jabari Smith has a body type that is going to take some time to figure it out. I like these guys. I like the players. I think it's going to be a fun team. I want to watch Houston. Oof. I just think I want to watch Houston lose. You don't want to watch them either.
As somebody that just watched almost all their possessions, I'm telling you, no, you don't. Maybe if they get a lot better, but for me, this is a stay away. I don't like the number this low. There are other teams I'd rather, if I'm going to bet the absolute low point on, I'll go there. I'll tell you this, if it gets down to 22.5, I'm going to at least like look at a small play on the over. Probably not though. I think it's a solid stay away.